Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to be looking at this really interesting concept. It's something that I think we can all relate to, even if we haven't put it into words.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So we all want to be successful, right?
Of course, who doesn't?
Right, exactly. And usually, when we think of success, we think of the fancy car, the big house, all those external things, all that stuff that magazines are always telling us we should be aiming for.
Yeah, the classic keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing.
Exactly. But there's this whole other side to success that we don't often talk about. Like, what happens when you achieve all those things, but you still feel empty inside?
So that's what we're diving into today, success without fulfillment.
Exactly. It's like, what's the point of having it all if you're not actually happy?
Right, it's like having a perfectly decorated cake that tastes like cardboard, looks great on the outside, but there's no substance, no real satisfaction.
Perfect analogy. And you know what's crazy? This isn't just some problem for celebrities or CEOs.
Oh, definitely not.
This is something that affects us, like normal, everyday people, pretty much from the moment we're born.
It's true. Think about it. Like, from day one, we're bombarded with messages about what we should be doing, achieving, striving for.
Oh, yeah.
Getting good grades, getting into the right college, getting the right job, then the promotion, the bigger house, it never really stops.
It's like we're on this constant treadmill and we don't even know if we're running in the right direction.
Yeah, and the sources we've been looking at for this episode really dive into how all of this external pressure can actually lead to a lot of internal struggle. Like, there was this one study, I think it was mentioned in one of the articles, where researchers asked a bunch of 5-year-olds what they thought it meant to be happy. And a ton of them immediately started talking about having lots of toys and big houses.
5-year-olds.
I know, it's kind of mind-blowing. Like, we're being conditioned from such a young age to equate happiness with these external markers of success.
And it's scary because, everyone's seen what happens when people dedicate their entire lives to chasing this narrow definition of success.
Absolutely. The sources really highlight how this constant pursuit of external validation can be detrimental. They even point to things like rising divorce rates, increased depression and anxiety, even instances of violence. And all of these things are linked back to this feeling of never being enough, of always needing more.
And all that stuff is external. It's like we're achieving all these things, these milestones, but there's this emptiness on the inside.
Right. It's like all the achievements in the world can't fill that void if you're not actually fulfilled by what you're doing, by the life you're living.
It's almost like, I don't know, maybe even backwards. Like we're putting so much emphasis on achieving these things that we're told are going to make us happy. But then, then we get there and we're like, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought it would be at all.
It's kind of like that saying, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
There's this one phrase that I read, I think it was in one of the sources, that really stuck with me. And it kind of sums up this whole idea of success without fulfillment. The poverty of satisfaction. Have you ever heard that?
The poverty of satisfaction. I don't think so. But it is really striking. Like, you can have all the money, all the status, all the things that society tells us we should be striving for, but still feel completely and utterly empty. It's wild.
It really is. And I know I've definitely felt that in my own life, like achieving goals that I thought would make me happy and then realizing that wasn't it at all.
I think a lot of us can relate to that, like maybe getting a promotion or hitting a certain income level and then realizing that, okay, well, now what? There's still this something missing.
So how do we escape that trap? Because it's like we're all kind of programmed to climb this ladder of success, even if it's not actually leading us anywhere meaningful.
Well, the sources we're looking at, they offer some really interesting insights into that. And one of the key takeaways is that we need to start defining success on our own terms, not based on what society tells us.
So it's not just about hitting these external milestones. It's about finding something that actually brings you joy.
Exactly. Because fulfillment, that feeling of deep satisfaction, it comes from living a life that's in alignment with your values, not someone else's.
So it's not just about achieving, it's about figuring out what actually matters to you.
Right. And that can look different for everyone, right? Like for some people, it might be spending more time with loved ones. For others, it might be pursuing a creative passion or making a difference in their community. It's about finding your own unique path.
It's like, what lights you up? What gets you excited to wake up in the morning?
Exactly, because that's where true fulfillment comes from. It's not about checking off boxes on someone else's list. It's about creating your own list, one that's full of things that bring you joy and purpose.
And that might mean making some tough choices, right? Like maybe walking away from a job that looks good on paper but doesn't actually fulfill you. Or maybe it's about saying no to commitments that drain your energy so you can make more time for the things that matter.
Yeah, it's about prioritizing your well-being and your happiness over what you think you should be doing.
So it's almost like we need to unlearn all these messages about success that have been drilled into us since we were kids and figure out what success really means for each of us as individuals.
Exactly. And that might mean redefining what success looks like. Like maybe success isn't about the corner office or the fancy car. Maybe it's about finding work that gives you a sense of purpose, or building strong relationships, or simply having the time and freedom to do the things you love.
And that can be scary. Like going against the grain can be really intimidating.
It can be, but the sources we're looking at suggest that it's totally worth it.
Because ultimately, true success comes from aligning your actions with your values.
And the sources are really clear about this. Living a life that feels authentic to you is where you're going to find that deep sense of fulfillment, that feeling of truly thriving.
So this whole idea of success without fulfillment, it's not just some philosophical concept. It's something that has real-world consequences.
Absolutely.
And it affects all of us.
Right. We're all susceptible to buying into this narrow definition of success, even if it's not actually serving us.
But the good news is we have the power to change that.
I do. We can choose to define success on our own terms, to chase fulfillment instead of just external validation.
That's so powerful.
It is, and it all starts with asking yourself, what truly matters to me? What brings me joy? What makes me feel alive? Those are the things worth chasing, and those are the things that will ultimately lead to a life that feels rich and fulfilling, even if it looks different from what society tells us it should.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the takeaway here is, it's time to stop chasing someone else's definition of success and start figuring out what success means for you.
Absolutely. What brings you joy? What are you passionate about? Start there. And don't be afraid to challenge those societal expectations that might be holding you back from living a truly fulfilling life.
So much to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.
See you then.